You ever pull that owner's manual out of the glove box, see that little spec for 0W-20 motor oil, and just take it as gospel? I did. For years. I figured, hey, the guys who built the engine know what's best for it, right? Well, I'm Joe Whitfield, been turning wrenches for over 30 years, and I'm here to tell you they all got it wrong. The dealers, the manual, the whole industry. A Toyota insider just leaked a document that proves it. And once you see what's in that paper, you're going to understand why millions of cars on the road right now might be running on borrowed time. Let me set the scene. You've got a modern Toyota, a Camry or a RAV4, maybe a Corolla. You take it in for an oil change. The kid at the counter hands you a jug of 0W-20, says, "That's what the computer says." And most folks, they nod, pay the bill, and drive off thinking their engine is protected. But here's the thing nobody talks about. That oil was chosen for a reason that has nothing to do with making your engine last. It was chosen to make the government happy. Corporate Average Fuel Economy Standards, CAFE, they force manufacturers to hit these fuel economy numbers. And the easiest, cheapest way to bump that number up by 1% or 2? Thin the oil out. Less resistance in the engine, better mileage on paper. Problem is, paper doesn't have to drive your car for 200,000 miles. Now, I've torn down more engines than most people have owned cars. And when you get inside one of these modern motors that's been running 0W-20 its whole life, you start to see things the owner's manual doesn't mention. The wear patterns, the sludge buildup in the tight spots, the way that thin oil just disappears under heat. And then you find a document, a Toyota Technical Service Bulletin, number TSB010421, that's sitting on the NHTSA database for anyone to read. This isn't a rumor. This is an official Toyota document that covers millions of vehicles. RAV4, Camry, Highlander. And what does it say? It says the oil is turning milky. The pressure is dropping. Engines are starting to fail. And Toyota's fix? Change the oil and move on. No explanation of why the oil they told you to use is causing the problem in the first place. No admission that the thin stuff, chosen for fuel economy, handles moisture and heat differently than the thicker oils we used to run. Just a quiet bulletin, and a hope nobody asks too many questions. Let me tell you what actually happens inside that engine. At operating temperature, 0W-20 is basically water. I know that sounds harsh, but I've seen the data from independent testers who've put this stuff through real wear analysis. They take a used sample from a turbocharged engine after 5,000 miles, and the metal particle count is higher than what you'd see with a 5W-30 at 10,000. The oil film just isn't thick enough to handle the extreme heat and pressure, especially in those small turbo engines that are everywhere now. A turbocharger spins at up to 200,000 RPM. The heat can cook the oil right off the bearing surfaces, and when that happens, you get metal-on-metal contact. That's not a theory. That's a fact I've seen in my own shop. I've pulled apart engines with less than 100,000 miles on them that look like they've been running sand through the oil galleys. And every single time, the owner says, "But I followed the manual." Now, the guys who defend 0W-20, they'll tell you the engine is designed for it. The clearances, the oil pump, the whole system is built around that viscosity. And on paper, that's true. But here's what they don't tell you. The same engine sold in Europe comes with a recommendation for 5W-30, not a different engine, the exact same one. Different country, different oil spec. Why? Because Europe doesn't have the same fuel economy regulations. They're not forced to use a thin oil to pass a government test. So the manufacturer puts a thicker, more protective oil in the car for the European market. But in America, they thin it out to hit a number. And you, the driver, you're the one paying the price when that engine starts knocking at 150,000 miles. I want you to think about something. When was the last time you actually checked your oil? Not just changed it, but pulled the dipstick and looked at it. I'm not saying go drain your engine and put in something heavier tomorrow, but I am saying you need to understand what's happening under that hood. And if you're driving a turbocharged Toyota or Honda or Ford, you need to be paying attention. I drive an older truck myself, and I run a heavier oil in it. But for a modern car, there's a middle ground. And I put together something in the pinned comment below this video, a tool list and a full breakdown of what I personally use and recommend for different engines. It's not a sales pitch. It's just what works after 30 years of turning wrenches. Go check it out while I keep going, because we're not done yet. The real problem isn't just the oil. It's the change interval. Toyota tells you 10,000 miles. Some of these dealers are even pushing 15. And with 0W-20, that's a recipe for disaster. I've seen the oil come out of a car at 8,000 miles, and it's black, it's thin, and it smells like fuel. That oil has already broken down. It's not protecting anything. The additive package in 0W-20 is more fragile than a thicker oil. It shears down faster under heat and pressure. So even if you're using the right viscosity, if you're stretching those intervals, you're driving on contaminated oil, and you don't even know it. I tell my customers, if you're running 0W-20, change it every 4,000 to 5,000 miles, max, especially if you have a turbo. That's not me being paranoid. That's me looking at the data and the teardowns and the service bulletins that Toyota themselves issued. And here's the kicker. The document that leaked, the Toyota insider who shared it, they confirmed something I've suspected for years. The engineers who designed these engines knew the thin oil was a compromise. They knew it was chosen for fuel economy, not longevity. But the marketing department and the legal team, they made the call. The owner's manual is a legal document, not an engineering one. It's written to protect the manufacturer, not your engine. And that's a hard pill to swallow if you've been trusting it blindly. Let me give you a real example from my shop. A guy brings in a 2018 RAV4 with the 2.5-litre engine. He's got a ticking noise. Sounds like a lifter, but it's not. I pull the valve cover, and the camshaft journals are scored. The oil passages are partially clogged with a dark, varnish-like deposit. He's been running 0W-20, changed it every 7,000 miles, religiously. The manual said 10, so he thought he was doing better. But that oil, at 7,000 miles, had already lost its ability to protect. The heat from normal driving had broken it down, and now he's looking at a $5,000 repair. That's not a hypothetical. That's a car in my bay right now. Now, I'm not saying every car running 0W-20 is going to explode tomorrow. Most of them, if you drive easy and change the oil early, you'll get by. But the margin for error is tiny, and the manufacturers know it. That's why they're quietly updating their recommendations. Some of the newer models, they're going back to 5W, 30, or even 0W, 40 inches certain applications. They're not advertising it. They're not sending letters to owners. They're just changing the spec on the next model year and hoping nobody notices. But the people who bought those earlier cars, the ones that are still on the road with the thin oil, they're the ones left holding the bag. Look, I've been doing this long enough to know that there's no one-size-fits-all answer. Every engine is different. Every driver is different. But the one thing I can tell you for sure is that the industry sold you a bill of goods with 0W-20. They told you it was better for your engine. It wasn't. It was better for their fuel economy numbers. And now the proof is sitting in a government database and in the bottom of my oil drain pan. So here's what I want you to do. Don't panic, but do pay attention. Check your oil this week. Look at the color. Smell it. If it's dark or smells like gas, change it. And if you want to go deeper on this, if you want to see the exact tool list and the full breakdown I put together on what oil to run in your specific car, it's all in the pinned comment. I laid it out plain and simple. No fluff. Just the stuff I've learned from 30 years of doing this the hard way. Go check it out after this video. One last thing. I'm not telling you to ignore your manufacturer. I'm telling you to understand why they told you what they told you. And once you understand that, you can make a better decision for your own car. That's what this is about. Not fear, just facts. And the fact is, they all got 0W-20 wrong. Now you know better. Go take care of that engine. I'll see you in the next one.